Alright, hey guys, what's going on? It's another Monday, and you know what that means.
It's another murderous Monday.
And on this channel, I'll talk about serial killers on Mondays, hence the name, Murderous Mondays. And I upload every Monday, hence the name. And the next serial killer that I will be talking about is Dr. Death, or the Angel of Death himself, Harold Shipman. Who was he? What was his early life like, and how and why did he become so evil? I will answer that and more in this video as I take you down the perspective mind of a serial killer. Now, before we get started, obviously he's a serial killer. You could just imagine. So if you don't want to hear about killing, I'd say get off this video and I'll see you next one. But also, you can see I'm still not in my room. That's because it is not finished yet. But I will think by next week it should most definitely be done. Yeah, I'm still, I'm getting down to nitty gritty. Okay, so here we go. We're in for a long one. Harold Frederick Shipman, born January 14th, 1946, and died on January 13th, 2004. Oh yeah, that's right, yeah. Known to acquaintances as Fred Shipman, was an English doctor and general practice. Was an English doctor in general practice and serial killing. He is considered to be one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history, with an estimated 284 victims over a period of roughly 30 years. On January 31st, 2000, Shipman was convicted of murdering 15 patients under his care. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order, which means that he will never be released. On January 13th, 2004, one day before his 58th birthday, Shipman hanged himself in his cell at HM Prison, Wakefield, West Yorkshire. Good riddance. The Shipman Inquiry, a 2-year-long investigation of all deaths, certified by Shipman, chaired by Dame Janet Smith, examined Shipman's crimes. It revealed Shipman targeted vulnerable elderly people who trusted him as their doctor, killing them with either a fatal dose of drugs or prescribing an abnormal amount. Yeah, prescribing them an normal amount, which means ODing. To date, Shipman, who has been nicknamed Dr. Death and the Angel of Death, is the only British doctor to have been convicted of murdering patients, although other doctors have been acquitted of similar crimes or convicted of lesser charges. Some nurses, such as Lucy Letby, I'd do a case on her sometime in the future, have also been convicted of murdering patients in their care. Yeah, but the only thing is that she murdered babies. She murdered newborns. Early life and education. Harold Frederick Shipman was born on January 14th, 1946, on the Bestwood Estate, a council estate in Nottingham, the second of 3 children. His father, also Harold Frederick Shipman, so junior he was then, born 1914 to 1985, was a lorry driver, which I think was like a bus or something. His mother was Vera, don't know her last name or anything, but she was born 1919 to 1963. His working class parents were devout Methodists. And Shipman was particularly close to his mother, who died of lung cancer when he was just age 17. Her death came in a manner similar to what later became Shipman's own modus operandi, or MO. In the later stages of her disease, she had morphine administered at home by a doctor. And Shipman witnessed his mother's pain subside despite her terminal condition until her death on the 21st of June 1963. On the 5th of November 1966, he married Primrose May Oxtoby. The couple had 4 children. Shipman studied medicine at the Leeds School of Medicine, University of Leeds, graduating in 1970. Now, his career. Excuse me. Alright, Shipman began working at Pontefract General Infirmary, the infirm, in Pontefract, West Riding of Yorkshire, and in 1974 took his first position as a general practitioner at, or GMC. Wait, no, GP. Sorry, GP. GMC is something else. Not the car dealership either. As a general practitioner at the Abraham Ormerod Medical Center in Todmorden. The following year, Shipman was caught forging prescriptions of pethidine for his own use. He was fined 600, I want to say euros, or however much, whatever that fancy E-looking thing is, and briefly attended a drug rehabilitation clinic in York. Not New York, but York, which is England. He worked as a GP at Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde, Greater Manchester. In 1977, Shipman continued working as a GP in Hyde throughout the 1980s, and established his own surgery at 21 Market Street in 1993, becoming a respected member of the community in 1983. He was interviewed in an edition of the Granada Television Current Affairs documentary World in Action on how the mentally ill should be treated in the community. A year after his conviction on charges of murder, the interview was rebroadcast on The Tonight Show with Trevor McDonald. Detection. In March 1998, Linda Reynolds, a general practitioner, also a GP, at the Brook Surgery in Hyde, expressed concerns to John Pollard, the coroner for the South Manchester district, about the high death rate among Shipman's patients. In particular, she was concerned about the large number of cremation forms for elderly women that he had asked to have countersigned. Police were unable to find sufficient evidence to bring charges and closed the investigation on April 17th of 1998, I would say. The Shipman inquiry later blamed Greater Manchester Police for assigning inexperienced officers to the case. After the investigation was closed, Shipman killed 3 more people. A few months later, in August, taxi driver John Shaw told the police that he suspected Shipman of murdering 21 patients. Wow, 21. Shaw was sure, right? Shaw became suspicious as many of the elderly customers he took to the hospital while seemingly in good health died in Shipman's care, just like Lucy Letby. And another one, Charles Cullen, who we'll get to somewhere in the near future. And I don't want to do two doctor ones side by side, so suspicious. Shipman's last victim was Kathleen Grundy, a former mayor of Hyde, who was found dead in her home, at her home on the 24th of June in 1998. He was the last person to see her alive. He later signed her death certificate, recording the cause of death as old age. Well, she was 81, but still. So is my grandma. Grundy's daughter, solicitor Angela Woodruff, became concerned when fellow solicitor Brian Burgess informed her that a will that a will had been made, apparently by her mother, with doubts about its authenticity. The will excluded Woodruff and her children, but left a whopping euro. I think it's a euro. It's the fancy E. $386,000 to Shipman. At Burgess's urging, Woodruff went to the police, who began an investigation. Excuse me. Grundy's body was exhumed and found to contain traces of diamorphine, or heroin, often used for pain control in terminal cancer patients. Shipman claimed that Grundy had been an addict and showed them comments he had written to that effect in his computerized medical journal. However, police examination of his computer showed that the entries were written after her death. Shipman was arrested on the 7th of September of 1998 and was found to own a brother typewriter of the type used to make the forged wills. Prescription for Murder, a 2000 book by journalists Brian Whittle and Gene Ritchie, suggested that Shipman forged the will either because he wanted to be caught as he felt his life was out of control, or because he planned to retire at 55 and leave the UK. The police investigated other deaths Shipman had certified and investigated 15 specimen cases. They discovered a pattern of his administering lethal doses of lethal doses of diamorphine, which is heroin again, signing patients' death certificates, and then falsifying medical records to indicate that they had been in poor health. In 2003, David Spiegelhalter, what a name, suggested that statistical monitoring could have led to an alarm being raised at the end of 1996 when there were 67 excess deaths in females aged over 65 years compared with 119 by 1998. In addition, an abnormally large number of deaths occurred around the same time of day when Shipman was on his afternoon visits and in the doctor's presence. Now, trial and imprisonment. Shipman began at Preston Crown Court on the 5th of October of 1999. He was charged with the murder of 15 women by lethal injections of diamorphine, all between 1995 and 1998. And here are the 15. Marie West, 81. Irene Turner, 67. Lizzie Adams, 77. Jean Lilly, 59. Ivy Lomas, 63. Muriel Grimshaw, 76. Another Marie. Marie Quinn, 67. Kathleen Wagstaff, 81. Bianca Pomfret, 49, who is actually the youngest one on this list. Nora Nuttall, 65. Pamela Hillier, 67. Maureen Ward, 57. Winifred Mellor, 73. Joan Melia, 73 also. And last but not least, the one that we said before, Kathleen Grundy at 81. Excuse me. Shipman's legal representatives tried unsuccessfully to have the Grundy case tried separately from the others, as a motive was shown by the alleged forgery of Grundy's will. On January 31st, 2000, after 6 days of deliberation, the jury found Shipman guilty of 15 counts. 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. Mr. Justice Forbes magazine probably, subsequently sentenced Shipman to life imprisonment on all 15 counts of murder, with a recommendation that he be subject to a whole life tariff to be served concurrently with a life sentence of 4 years for forging Grundy's will. On February 11th, 11 days after his conviction, Shipman was struck off the medical register by the General Medical Council. That's when the GMC comes in. General Medical Council. 2 years later, Home Secretary David Blunkett confirmed the judge's whole life tariff just 2 months before British government ministers lost their power to set minimum terms for prisoners. While authorities could have brought many additional charges, they concluded that a fair hearing would be impossible in view of the enormous publicity surrounding the original trial. Furthermore, the 15 life sentences already imposed rendered further litigation On further litigation, Furthermore, the 15 life sentences already imposed rendered further litigation unnecessary. Shipman became friends with fellow serial killer Peter Moore, as one would do in prison. You probably went in with a gang or something while in prison. Shipman denied his guilt, disputing the scientific evidence against him. He never made any public statements about his actions. Shipman's wife, Primrose, maintained that he was not guilty even after his conviction. Shipman is the only doctor in the history of British medicine found guilty of murdering his patients, which I don't think that's true, but okay. John Bodkin Adams was charged in 1957 with murdering a patient amid rumors he had killed dozens more over a 10-year period and possibly provided the role model for Shipman. He was acquitted and no further charges were pursued. A historian, Pamela Cullen, had argued that because of Adams' acquittal, there was no impetus to examine, there was no need to examine potential flaws in the British legal system until the Shipman case. Now, I'm sorry if I said any of the names wrong, any of the victims' names wrong earlier. I do apologize. Now we go to the overall death. Shipman hanged himself in his cell at H.M. Prison, Wakefield, on January 13th, 2004, the day before his 58th birthday. That's a good way to celebrate your birthday. That is a good way, if you're a criminal. The Medico Legal Center in Sheffield performed a post-mortem examination, and an inquest was opened. Some of the victims' families said they felt cheated, as Shipman's suicide meant that they would never have the satisfaction of a confession, nor answer to why he had committed the crimes. Home Secretary David Blunkett admitted that celebration was tempting. Excuse me. Blunkett said, "You wake up and you receive a call telling you that Shipman has topped himself, and you think it's too early to open a bottle, and then you discovered that everybody's very upset that he'd done it." End quote. Shipman's death divided national newspapers, with the Daily Mirror branding him a cold coward and condemning the prison service for allowing his suicide to occur. However, The Sun, which is another magazine, ran a celebratory front-page headline, "Ship, ship, hooray," which was the hint that I gave you guys in the last episode. The Independent, which is another magazine, called for the inquiry into Shipman's suicide to look more widely at the state of UK prisons, as well as the welfare of inmates. In The Guardian, now these are all magazines, by the way, an article by General Sir David Ramsbottom, Sir David Ramsbottom, who had formerly served as Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons, suggested that whole life sentencing be replaced by indefinite sentencing. For this would give at least prisoners the hope of eventual release and reduce the risk of ending their own lives by suicide, as well as making their management easier for prison officials. Shipman's motive for suicide was never established. Hold on, let me just... This way. Was never established, though he reportedly told his probation officer that he was considering suicide to assure his wife's financial security after he was stripped of his National Health Service pension. Primrose Shipman received a full NHS pension. She would not have been entitled to it if Shipman had lived past the age of 60, which he did not, so that's good. Additionally, there was evidence that Primrose, who had consistently protested Shipman's innocence despite the overwhelming evidence, had begun to suspect his guilt. Shipman refused to take part in courses which would have encouraged acknowledgement of his crimes, leading to a temporary removal of privileges, including the opportunity to telephone his wife. During this period, according to Shipman's cellmate, he received a letter from Primrose exhorting him to tell me everything no matter what. A 2005 inquiry A 2005 inquiry found that Shipman's suicide could not have been predicted or prevented, but that procedures should nonetheless be re-examined. After Shipman's body was released to his family, it remained in Sheffield for more than a year. His widow was advised by police against burying her husband in case the grave was attacked. Shipman's body was eventually cremated. The cremation was attended only by Primrose and the couple's 4 children. I wonder if Primrose ever knew or ever suspected that her husband was murdering them. I mean, if she did, wouldn't you think that she would go to the I was gonna say principal? Wouldn't you think she would go to the police? Probably. So I don't think she actually knew what was going on until he already took his own life. Aftermath. In January 2001, Chris Gregg, a senior at West Yorkshire Police detective, was selected to lead an investigation into 22 of the West Yorkshire deaths. Following this, the Shipman inquiry submitted in June 2002 concluded that he killed at least 218 of his patients between 1985 and 1975 and 1998, during which time he practiced in Todmorden 1974 to 75 and Hyde from 77 to 98. Okay. And remember, there's still 203 other victims potentially that we don't even know about that he killed. Like, we don't know their names because remember, there was only 15. And 203 plus 15 is 218. Janet Smith, the judge who submitted the report, admitted that many more deaths of a suspicious nature could not be definitively ascribed to Shipman. Most of his victims were elderly women in good health. In her 6th and a final report issued on January of the 24th of January 2005, Smith reported that she believed that Shipman had killed 3 patients. Just top it on to the 218. I mean, at this point, what's the point? He already killed over 200 people. She believed that he killed 3 patients, and she had serious suspicions about 4 further deaths, including that of a 4-year-old during the early stage of his medical career at Pontefract General Infirm. In total, 459 people died while under his care between 1971 to 98. I don't know. What's the word when you read where you can't read right? I forgot. Yeah. 4 shipments, but hold on. 459 people died while under his care between 71 to 98. But it is uncertain of how many people of those were murdered victims, as he was often the only doctor to certify a death. Smith's estimate of Shipman's total victim count over that 27-year period was 250. The GMC, the General Medical Council, I remember that, yep, charged 6 doctors who signed cremation forms for Shipman victims with misconduct, claiming that they should have noticed the pattern between Shipman's home visits and the patient's deaths. All these doctors were found not guilty. In October of 2005, a similar hearing was held against 2 doctors who worked at Tameside General Hospital in 1994, who failed to detect that Shipman had deliberately administered a grossly excessive dose of morphine, which means heroin. The Shipman inquiry recommended changes to the structure of the GMC. In 2005, it came to light that Shipman may have stolen jewelry from his victims as well. In 1998, police had seized over 10,000. I'm just gonna say euro because I know that that's the Europe unit of money worth of jewelry. 10,000 worth of jewelry they found in his garage and in his garage. In March of 2005, when Primrose asked for its return, police wrote to the families of Shipman's victims, asking them to identify the jewelry. Unidentified items were handed to the Assets Recovery Agency in May. The investigation ended in August. Authorities returned 66 pieces to Primrose and auctioned 33 pieces that she confirmed were not hers. Proceeds of the auction went to Tameside Victim Support. Or TVs. Tameside Victim Support TVs, yeah. A memorial garden to Shipman's victims called the Garden of Tranquility opened in Hyde Park. Not New Hyde Park, Hyde Park. Hyde. On July the 30th of 2005, as of early 2009, families of over 200 of the victims of Shipman were still seeking compensation for the loss of their relatives. In September 2009, letters Shipman wrote in prison to friends were to be sold at auction, but following complaints from victims' relatives, and the media, the sale was withdrawn. Now, last but not least, the last paragraph. The Shipman effect. The Shipman case and a series of recommendations in the Shipman's inquiry report led to changes to standard medical procedures in the UK, now referred to as the Shipman effect. Many doctors reported changes in their dispensing practices at a reluctance to risk overprescribing pain medication may have led to underprescribing. Death certification practices were altered as well. Perhaps the largest change was the movement from single doctor general practices to multiple doctor general practices. This was not a direct recommendation, but rather because the report stated that there was not enough safeguarding and monitoring of doctors' decisions. The forms needed for a cremation in England and Wales have had their questions altered as a direct result of the Shipman case. For example, the person or persons organizing the funeral must answer, "Do you know or suspect the death of the person who has died? Was it violent or unnatural? Do you consider that there should be any further examination of the remains of the person who has died?" And I think that's it. As of December 1st, 2023, Shipman, also nicknamed Dr. Death and the Angel of Death, is the only British doctor to have been convicted of murdering patients, although other doctors, such as, I don't really care if I'm saying these wrong because they are killers, Izyaka Mammon, have been acquitted of similar crimes or convicted of lesser charges, and nurses such as Lucy Letby, remember her from earlier, Beverly Allett, Colin Norris, Benjamin Geen, and Victorino Chua have also been convicted for murdering patients in their care. What about, I think her name was also Beverly. She was the granny killer, I think. I think it was in, no, I should actually do that one soon. The granny killer, I forgot her name. Maybe it was Beverly Allett. But it was in Canada. It was the granny killer. Okay. Well, that's about it. Before I click off this video, I want my prayer. Obviously, I know this happened in the last century, but my prayers still go out to the family and friends of the victims. And before I click off this video, my next case I'm going to be doing next week, hopefully in my room, will be, he is known by his name, but also by his nickname, which has 3 letters, and I'll give you a hint. It's not the GSK. So, if you know who I'm talking about, please put it down in the comments below. And, you know, it's getting colder out. You know, it's November already. You know, 18 days until my birthday. Woo woo! Until I'm finally legal, I'm finally gonna be turning 21. Well, yeah. I mean, it's getting colder out. You know, stay inside as much as you can and whatever. I don't know what else to say. You know, maybe go outside. Maybe do like another barbecue before the summer's over. I mean, before it gets colder out, or whatever, before it gets like too cold to do it or whatever. I know I'm just rambling on. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you made it this long, over 40 minutes, 1 second, I would thank you very much. And, you know, if this is a new case for you, which I don't think it is, but if it's new, you know, you're welcome. I'll catch you in my next video. Peace.